flag in the air.
And he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your NASCAR home. I am your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. As always, it's Brian Twining here to break down the Bristol race. We will talk betting. We'll look at the early card, see if we can find some values, look at the head-to-head and top 10, top 5 markets. And before that, we'll jump in. We'll recap all that was NASCAR last week. But before we do any of that, how's it going, Mr. Brian Twining?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. And as you can see, rocking the 23-11 in celebration of Bubba Wallace taking home the victory last weekend. Yep. And I am so happy I got that 20-1 number after qualifying, mind you, for a half a unit. That was absurd that the books reposted it at that number, considering how well he had driven. It seemed too good to be true.
Let's throw up the betting card, because I was pretty happy with my week. I felt really strong. I was in the green. I made Alex Bowman top 10. Probably should have gone 5 or 6 units on that, but
yeah, and he looked great, by the way.
He looked great. He was awesome all day. Yep. He was leading a lot of the race. I honestly thought I was going to cash that 35-1 and be doing backflips all up and down the street, because he finally came through for me. Did not come through, but still had a great week. Looked awesome. Bubba obviously wins the race. Had him on a top 10. That was fun. And then Bell over Truex, 6 units at plus 105, cash money. That was a fun play. Hit both of my best bets, so that was awesome. Also had Bowman over Suarez and Bowman over Gibbs, as Bowman had an amazing race. And then Chastain over Reddick was my other head-to-head that came through. So overall, a decent week. I was up about 3 or 4 units. Felt really good about myself. And then I turned it over and saw Brian's card, where he had that aforementioned 20-1 on Bubba Wallace, who takes the checkered flag, puts a half a unit on there. Big time cash. Also has Bubba on the top 10 market. William Byron looks solid. Cashing that top 10 for you.
It's happening again with Byron, by the way. Like, he's stringing together the good things.
I know, and we'll get into him this week, because I feel like he'll be the topic of conversation. You went back to the well on Bell versus Truex, and you loved it. And, well, here we are cashing your double best bet as they left that number up for us, which was insane. So that was absolutely nice. And then you had Chastain over Reddick and Blaney over Logano.
Finally.
Oh, yeah. The fade Joey Logano worked out for you. So huge profit week for you. You're up almost 30 units right now, which is obviously hitting those outrights is really nice.
Exactly.
I'm digging myself out of the hole. Still have a better win percentage, but I'm down 11 instead of up 28. So
I was just going to say, and that's we keep talking about this every week, is like, all you got to do is hit an outright here or there, and you'll be close to running in the green, or at least breaking even.
I thought I had one too, but we'll get into it. I think I have some ideas on where I want to go this week, but yeah, this shows you why you want to take those head-to-heads, take those placements, and keep that bankroll building, and then hit a couple outrights, and you'll have a hell of a season. Let's flip over and look at how we did on DraftKings. Really solid week. We had 3 of the 3 max 6K over on DraftKings. We had 3 lineups. We cashed all 3 of them, Brian. It was really, really solid. Obviously, we could have done some better stuff, but had Bubba. Obviously, start 6th, finish 1st, 72 DraftKings points. Rouse Chastain was fine. Kyle Busch was the one that was a little concerning to me. Thought he would have a better day.
Yeah.
Obviously, didn't have the day we kind of expected. So he kind of drugged the lineup down. Obviously, Keselowski did what you expect, which is nothing.
Hey, he's still got 19 points.
Right. And he didn't spin out Bubba or Bowman or Byron or any of the guys we wanted. Almirola was Chalky McChalkerson, but he was fine.
I was just going to say McDowell and Almirola, like getting 34 plus points out of both of those guys at less than 7K is probably huge.
Yeah, and McDowell, especially at 12% ownership, I
Yeah.
feel pretty good about most of it. And obviously, a lot of people feel like Kyle Busch was part of the play. Next lineup, we had Hamlin, 70 points, started 25th, finished second, was great all day. Alex Bowman led 107 laps, 34 fastest laps, 80 points, was awesome. Those two were absolute smashes. Once again, Kyle lets us down. Cindric was fine. Almirola was good, and BJ McLeod didn't kill us. So overall, not too shabby there. And then our last lineup, Hamlin obviously did great again. Christopher Bell did great again. Alex Bowman did great again. This trio was awesome. I wish we had done something a little different here. Ty Gibbs, not so much. But Keselowski and Custer were fine enough to help me cash this. So 3 lineups, 3 cashes. Feel good about that. Obviously, not having the carnage that was Daytona and Darlington was really nice. So good to get back to that. But with that being said, Brian, let's look ahead. Let's jump into the odds and let's see if we can't find some more winners for the fine folks out there, because that's what we're here to do. Okay, so I will get my notes up. I will get this ready, and we will start in the upper tier. Let me pull this down for you. Boom, there we go. So we got Denny Hamlin is your favorite, 6.5, 7-1. Right behind him, Chase Elliott, 7.5. Kyle Larson, similar range. Kyle Busch, we didn't hit this off the top, but Kyle Busch is going to be taking the 8 from Tyler Reddick next year. Tyler Reddick is still going to be with Richard Childress, which is kind of interesting.
As of now,
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to get him out of there.
I was just going to say, I have a sneaky suspicion that we're going to see some sort of contract buyout, and then he's going to drive for 23XI next year.
Yeah, that feels like the right outcome, but I don't know. It does seem like a weird situation. So that was interesting. I'm curious to see what Kyle Busch looks like in Richard Childress RCR, and what JGR is doing. I assume it's just Ty Gibbs getting the 18 and we're rolling forward like that. But I guess, and then we'll have Christopher Bell, Kevin Harvick, rounding out the kind of 10-1 range. Are you diving in on any of these guys early in the odds?
I'm gonna go to the top of the board this week. I'm gonna get a little risky and put a unit on Hamlin at 7-1 over there at BetMGM. I mean, he's looked great in the playoffs. Last week, if we had run another 5 laps, there's a good chance that he probably catches Bubba and passes him. And I also have a feeling, as I even mentioned this to my wife sitting on the couch watching the end of the race, that Denny was almost kind of throttling down, knowing that he was going to advance in the playoffs and trying to get his team, mind you, and his driver a victory in that 45 car. But Hamlin is by far the best driver right now in the playoffs, over the first 2 races. And, he's driven really well at Bristol. He finished 9th here last year, but that is not indicative of where he actually ran during the race, where he led. I think it was like 67 laps. He finished top 3 in both the first 2 stages. Dude was the second fastest car on track. Like he does well here.
Yep. And does well at short tracks. Won at Richmond this year in the new car. One at, where was the other one? My brain just, he got 4th at the other Richmond race, did fine at Martinsville. So yeah, I mean, he's really good at short tracks. He's really good here at Bristol, and obviously in the new car has been a beast. So I think that's a fine move. I think this week, especially, hammering the top quadrant of the board is probably the move. I don't think there's going to be a ton of value as we dive down.
Well, real quick on that, I was doing some research today. Like Bristol, very similar to last week in Kansas. Apparently, qualifying position as starting position is extremely crucial here. With, I think it's 8 of the last 13 winners started 5th or better, and 5 of those actually started on pole here. So you're looking at, it's going to be the top tier guys at qualifying that you're going to be looking in outrights, and you got to go to the board to find the top qualifiers in general when looking at the outright board.
Yeah, and I think especially with the new car being in the front makes it really easy to get out ahead and finding it hard to pass at points. So I think that makes sense. Larson is incredibly compelling once again. Kyle Busch is something I don't know what to
do with him right now.
Yeah, like because he's gonna be in a new car, so and his deal's running out with JGR, but
he's like right on the cusp of the elimination spot too.
But has done well at short tracks, has popped in these models. Like everything says to look at him, but then I don't know. I feel like it's a week to back the olds though. Between Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick is incredibly compelling at 9-1, kind of as the back of that range. Wouldn't blame our guy Christopher Bell popping a little bit. Priced up a little aggressive, but we've talked about it all year. When there's that one name that kind of seems a little out of place, it always makes me raise an eyebrow and think maybe they know something and I should just jump on it. The next range, Tyler Reddick, 12-1. Once again, with the whole drama around his card, where his ride is and what's going on for next year. Curious to see how that all plays out. Ryan Blaney at 12-15, depending on where you get it. Joey Logano, I know last week was rough, but I think could be a nice value, especially if you're looking for a driver outside the 10-1 range. I know you hate him, Brian, but it doesn't make him a bad value. I think my favorite and my first bet is going to be William Byron, 18-1, putting it on the card. We've talked about him. He's very boomer bust. He looked great last week. Obviously has a good track record at short tracks, has looked good this season on the short tracks. And I think at 18-1, thanks to my friends at BetMGM, he will be the first name to find a home on my card.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like we talked about it with Byron a couple of weeks ago when we were on him probably a race or two early in terms of when he was going to return to form. But I mean, this is a guy that should be competing inside close to the top 5 week in and week out. And we've seen it the last 2 races in the playoffs. It's like he's flipped the switch. Like you said, he's looked good on short tracks this year. He's shown the ability to run as one of the fastest cars all day. So I think Byron coming towards the back end of like the guys that you really think have a shot to win here at 18-1 makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Won at Martinsville. The last Richmond race, started 4th. He ended up finishing 11th, but qualified really well. And we talked about how important qualifying is. And then the first Richmond race, started 2nd, finished 3rd, had another strong race. So another guy who excels on short tracks, that is typically when he finds his form, he sticks to it for a couple weeks and then fades away for a couple weeks. So I didn't really love him to win the Cup championship, but I might look at odds and see what his number is, because if I really think he can win this week, then that'll give him a big leg up on kind of advancing. And it might, we're looking for ways to kind of diversify. We obviously have Blaney outrights. We have Ross Chastain outrights. So looking for another name or two to kind of get, and if you can get 3 or 4 of those guys into the final 4, you're going to be loving life. So,
I was just going to say another one of those guys who's, coming on strong, minus the fact that he hasn't actually won a race this year, and that's Ryan Blaney. I think he's 4th in the standing or the playoff standings right now. So he's almost assured of making it to the next round. I actually kind of like him at that 15-1 number this week here at Bristol. He's looked pretty good at the short tracks. He was great at Richmond, the first race there, qualifying on pole. He finished 4th at Martinsville. He qualified 10th and finished 10th at the last Richmond race. But in terms of like overall performance on this season, Ryan Blaney is one of the best drivers still, and without a win, and you have to assume one of those is coming eventually. So I think getting on the odds now makes a lot of sense before it actually happens and he drops inside that 10-1 range.
Yep. Totally agree. We'll go into the next range, starting with Martin Truex, another guy who I think makes a lot of sense if we're targeting the olds. I always scratch my head because like, I don't I don't know. I think we overthink it too much with guys in and out of the playoffs. I still think they want to win. I still think Martin needs to do really well. I think, obviously, push comes to shove, he's going to still stick his nose in there and try and win. Guy does really well in the short track, and was just on the borderline of making the playoffs and obviously got bumped. So he is somebody that's incredibly compelling at 15, 16 to 1. And then we can have a drop off to the next range where we have Bubba at 25 to 28, Alex Bowman at 22 to 30. And then it falls again to Chase Briscoe at, I guess BetMGM doesn't want to take money on him. But 40 to 1, 50 to 1. Same with Suarez. Same with Eric Jones. Same with Ty Gibbs. Any of these names jumping out to you as someone that you actually want to look at for outright consideration?
I mean, I could see myself putting like a quarter unit maybe on a guy like Eric Jones, who, I mean, he's run well in the past at Bristol. He was great here. He's actually finished inside the top 10 the last 3 trips to this track. We saw him win a couple of weeks ago at a similar number. So, I mean, it's not out of the question for it to happen. It definitely would not be a heavy investment. It'd be more of like a dart throw. And then Suarez too, at that 50 to 1 number at BetMGM. I think he's a guy to watch out for coming into this week.
Yeah, he's definitely taken a step back over the past month or so. He was really, really good. And then and we've talked about this with Trackhouse, they just kind of fading off a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to add Truex at the 16 to 1. I think that's a number that I want to get a piece of. I think he could have a really strong week. And I am going to grab it now, as I think he will qualify strong and end up, that number will be like a 12, 13. And I will be disappointed if I don't grab it. I can't see it.
I mean, Truex finished, 6th this last weekend? It's not like he's just disappeared into oblivion.
He's actually been pretty good since the playoffs started. And I mean, it's not like it's going to fade to that 20-25. So I'm going to grab it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's head to the top 10 market and see if we can't find some interesting numbers there, maybe with some guys a little bit further down the board. Some of these names are going to be really, really hard to get to. I'm not Hamlin, Elliott, Larson. Those are big numbers. But I think, like we did the last couple weeks, finding value and jumping on it early with some of this top 10 numbers can be a nice way to get it. And then once, as the week goes along, those numbers seem to drift a lot. Bubba at -105, Bowman at +105, Chase Briscoe 155, Suarez, Eric Jones at +170 to top 10. That's pretty nice.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna take the Jones +180 over at DraftKings and add
perfect.
that for a unit.
Even better.
And I'll be fine. If he doesn't qualify well, which he has never really done here, that's actually something that hasn't affected him in finishing. And this is kind of the track that fits his driving style of beating and banging. So you might even want to wait on that number, possibly talking about this now. Maybe it'll grow if he qualifies poorly, like he has been doing here.
Yeah, I'm going to join you on that. I think that's a good number. And, I'm going to just take a little bit of it now. And like you said, if we get more of a +220, 230, depending on how qualifying goes, might grab a little more piece of it, because I do think he is capable, and I think he will have a nice, strong week. Let's see here. Truex, man, I really liked him, but my God, -185. Blaney -185, can't get there.
I think I'm going to add the Suarez too at +155 to top 10. Yeah. I think when you look back at his past results when he was driving for Stewart, his 1 year with Stewart Haas, he finished 8th in both events at Bristol. And I think Trackhouse is more in line with that car than he was driving in 2020 with Gaunt Brothers. So I think he can do it. And it's just a matter of if they can kind of find their groove again over there at that team.
Yeah, and it's interesting, a lot of the tracks that we've been hitting over the second half of the season, it's round 2, right? We haven't done Bristol yet in the new car, so curious to see how it reacts to the track and who can make it kind of work for them. Almirola is compelling at +210.
Are you sure it's not just Almirola? The driver himself is compelling, or is it?
He's just like I just feel like he's so like vanilla, and like he'll get me like a ninth. Like he at a Richmond in August started 32nd, still got a top 10 finish. Let me see here. How did he do at Martinsville? Why is my brain not working? Started second, finished 8th, and then
It's really not bad.
no, he's been good. Plus 210 going on the card. Let's do it. I don't feel like I feel like the fact that he's got a ride for next year has kind of given him a little bit of a boost as the season's kind of come to an end. So plus 210, I think it's worth a shot. At top 10ing, I think I don't expect him to win. I'm not going to bet him even top 5, but give me a ninth, give me an 8th. I'm very happy with that. Recce spinouts 3-1, Chris Buescher 3.5-1, Michael McDowell 3.5-1. Return of the Dinger. Any of those jumping out to you?
Man, Buescher's kind of taken a step back the last couple of races, and he doesn't really have a great history at Bristol. McDowell is somebody, again, I could see myself getting to post-qualifying. If he doesn't qualify inside the top 10, that number likely gets maybe above 4-1. So I think he'd be somebody post-qualifying I'd grab. Spinhouse, no chance. I'm touching that at this track with lots of contact.
Yeah, I'm actually going to pull up our buddy over at iFantasy Race. He had a nice little nugget on spinouts today about his success or lack thereof at
Bristol.
At Bristol, yeah.
That's quite funny.
So since New Hampshire, just a little quick nugget from iFantasy Race. If you're not following him on Twitter, you're missing out. Wallace has a 6.8 average finish and has had a result in the top 13 in every race. If you take out Watkins Glen, so he's been really, really strong.
Boom.
That over the last little while. Let me find that. I will keep scrolling while I look for that information. Going back to the Brad K-Well this week, Brian.
No, I will say backtracking a little bit. I am gonna go and piggyback off of you from last week because it's a decent number. It's plus money. I'm going to add Bowman at plus 105 to top 10 because he's been pretty good at short tracks over the last year plus. I know his last two at Richmond and Martinsville weren't the greatest results, but prior to that, he had finished, I think it was something like it was actually 3 in a row inside the top 10, including a win at Martinsville last year in the fall. Bowman has done pretty well historically at these kinds of tracks. He's coming on strong right now. So I think at plus money right now, with a good chance of a decent qualifying run, is a good bet.
Yep. So the nugget on Stenhouse, over his last 6 Bristol races, he has gotten 20th or worse, which is not great. But if you believe that he is going to regress to the mean, his first 11 starts prior to that, he had 6 top 10s and 9 results in the top 16. So had a good run initially, has not been good over his last 6 trips here. But could this be the week he gets back? Brian and I say no. But that 3-1 number just to top 10 is not a bad number if you want to get to it. He's just been so bad over the last month.
I think for him too, it's a case of let me watch what he does qualifying and see if he can maybe, pop a tire or something during qualifying, and he's starting near the rear of the field and that balloons to 7-1, and then maybe.
Or even if he looks really good and I can get it at plus 230 or plus 250, if he shows up and looks good, then maybe I'll be a little more interested. Let's go over the head-to-head market where all the fun usually starts. So we got Chastain versus Logano at even money. We got Elliott at plus money against Denny Hamlin. Not quite big enough for me just to kind of blindly take it, but compelling nonetheless. Kyle Busch a slight favorite over Kevin Harvick. I kind of like Harvick there, but I don't know. And then same for Harvick over Christopher Bell. I like Harvick so much more in like head-to-heads and placements, just because I feel like he's so safe and so reliable, where some of these other guys kind of dick around with their cars and blow a tire.
Unless you have Ross Chastain, who we love you. We want that 50-1 to cash, but you need to start driving smarter, pushing Bubba right in front of Harvick, causing him to blow out his tire in right front, barely get with the race getting started last week in Kansas.
Yeah, it was definitely a rough go, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's our watermelon man. He does what he does, and a lot of people aren't really the biggest fan, but if we cash that ticket, we'll be very, very happy. Larson versus Elliott, Blaney versus Reddick, Bell versus Larson. Any of these kind of jumping out? There's some interesting numbers.
Well, I'm definitely playing Blaney over Reddick. I got Blaney on an outright. I think he's going to show out this weekend. So that to me is a decent bet, close to even money.
Yep, I think that makes sense. My two outrights are going head to head, so that is fun. I will take Bowman at plus money over Bubba Wallace. Love you, Bubba. But I will take Bowman over Wallace with plus money. Austin Dillon versus Chase Briscoe. Suarez versus Briscoe. Get fade Chase Briscoe. I love doing that. Watermelon Man over the Reddick. I will take that.
I was just going to say, you know what? At plus 105, that's really a decent bet.
Yep.
I guess it's fade Reddick week for me, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, we had this bet last week. We're going back to it. Very happy to have it. Bubba plus 205 over Christopher Bell.
The thing, though, is that Christopher Bell has... I mean...
He's great here. Don't get me wrong, but that's just silly. I'm taking it.
I don't know, man.
I know it's silly, but you're giving me 2-1 on drivers that I think are relatively even if I think Christopher Bell is better. He's not twice the driver. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I won't add it. Like
I understand fading it. Like I understand staying away. Like there's plenty of head-to-heads where like I'm all good and I think there's value, but not enough for me to put it on the card. I think that one is if I can get plus 200 or better with a driver that I actually trust versus another driver, even if I think they're good also, I'm gonna take it. I'll figure it out. I think that's it. Is there anything else that you see jumping out?
There's the matchup board this week, I think, is fairly even in terms of like what they're offering. Especially like because we haven't run here yet. I think that's why you see a lot of books not having a bunch of numbers up, or there's not a lot of matchups because we have nothing to go on at this particular track.
Yep, I added the Chastain over Logano. Also, Joey's probably a little bit safer, but I think it's the right side to be on. So I am adding that to the card. Okay, so let's recap where we're at. Let's give the people a best bet and let's get out of here. Once again, we are recording a football betting show each and every week, so make sure you're checking that out. Brian's sneaking on to qualify on the poll numbers. Might have to pull that up and see if there's anything I would like to add. We also have a Saturday race this week, so make sure you're looking on Saturday for the pod. We will have it. Yes. We will record it Friday night. We will have it up for you on Saturday. Part of the reason why we are recording today, to make sure you guys have plenty of time to get your bets in before everything starts going. All right, Hamlin, Elliott, Larson, Busch, Christopher Bell, Chastain at 15-1 is kind of fun. Party Marty at 12-1 is kind of fun. Bowman at 30-1 is kind of fun.
There's a lot of good numbers for qualifying. And then just looking back at historical like average starting position over the last 10, Chase Elliott's average starting position at Bristol is just over fifth. Like he's somebody that does really well, but he's never topped out, I think, over fourth. Yeah. So, but like the reason why I added Blaney, qualified on pole at Richmond. You saw it earlier this year where he had, I think it was like back-to-back poles. So he's shown the ability to sit on the pole at multiple tracks this year. Yep. And I think, like I said, I love him in an outright, so I think he's going to qualify well. So why not?
Yep, and you don't have to worry about his pit crew losing a tire or anything.
Exactly.
So that is a smart bet. Let's head back to the bet tracker. I have 2 outrights. I have William Byron at 18-1. I have Martin Truex at 16-1. I have Eric Jones the top 10 at plus 180. I have Eric Almirola the top 10 at plus 210. My head-to-heads are Bowman over Wallace, Chastain over Reddick, Bubba over Christopher Bell because of that 205, and Chastain over Logano. Brian, break down your card for the people and give them a best bet.
All right, so I'm starting the week with 2 outrights right now. As we said, we got Denny Hamlin, the favorite at 7-1. He's been great here. And then one of my favorite guys this year is due for a win, way overdue. Ryan Blaney at 15-1. Top 10 market. I'm just going with some plus money numbers here. Eric Jones plus 180. Daniel Suarez to get back on track with Trackhouse plus 155. And then Alex Bowman going back to the well with him after Kyle went extremely heavy last week at plus 105. And then in my outrights, I got Blaney over Reddick and Chastain over Reddick. So Tyler Reddick's probably winning the race. And then I got Ryan Blaney winning the pole at 10-1. My best bet for the week as we sit here on recording on Tuesday prior to the Bass Pro Shops night race. Again, highlighting you might want to bet Tyler Reddick to win the race. I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney to finish over Tyler Reddick. And I'm going to make this a 3-unit play, not getting as crazy as I did last week, but I love Blaney this week.
It worked out well. I like where your head's at. I think it makes sense. For my best bet, I am not a psychopath, so I'm not going to take William Byron to win the race, but I do love him quite a bit. So I am going to go to the top 5 market with him at plus 200 for my best bet. A number that I think makes sense. Just aggressive enough to have some fun without being too insane to hit him on the outright. I will take 3 units on that 2-1 play, and I will look to cash it. I like him and Truex to qualify on the pole, but I'm just going for high enough to make things interesting. I don't need him to actually be in first at the end of qualifying. So that is our bets. Like I said, we will be back. We will record Friday night. We will have it in your feed Saturday morning ahead of the Bristol night race. We will also be recording our college football and NFL pick'em show as soon as we get done recording this. So make sure you check that out if you're trying to bet some football this weekend. We have a lot to get into. For Brian Twining, I'm Kyle Robert. You guys enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you on Saturday.